Welcome to the Kantech webinar series. Today is going to be a nice little topic, mostly how to deploy your controller in a hattrix environment. It's a pretty nice way, an easy, simple way of getting controller connected to our hattrix platform. It also applies if you want to connect it to a regular controller. Today I'll be using mostly the Enterprise Web tied to our demo server so you guys can see the Enterprise Web. If you want to see how to use the Enterprise Web, on our channel on YouTube, we have plenty of videos, including one on how to deploy the Enterprise Web. So please go there and watch them. There's a lot of videos, educational. Every webinar series is there. So here's how we communicate to our controllers. Our controllers communicate to something called the gateway. The gateway is a module that connects to the server, and the server itself is a database. So if you have a hattrix platform, for example, in the cloud, we connect to something called the gateway, which is a receiver. It works similarly to the intrusion world, where all the alarm panels call back to a central station. So does the controllers. So in this example here, it seems that the gateway calls the controllers. That is actually not true. The gateway, the hattrix platform, doesn't call any controller. The controllers call back to the hattrix platform. This is key because why? It makes for a more plug and play scenario where I simply don't need to call somebody. If I call somebody, I need to know their IP information. I need to know how to reach them. It's much simpler if everybody in the field, all the controllers, know where the gateway or the hattrix platform is at, rather than the gateway knowing where every single controller is at. It's a lot more work this way. So the controllers initiate the first connection to the actual gateway. So the controllers listen for incoming connections. We use something called a call home address, where the controllers call back to the gateway. So like in the intrusion world, we tell it where the central station is at. In Hattrix is the exact same thing. We tell the controllers, here's your call home address, which is the address of the Hattrix platform. Every Hattrix platform has their own connection and name that you connect to. Benefit of that is that we tell the controllers where to call and they automatically call out. As you guys see in the diagram, I can keep on adding and adding and adding connection however I want. Even though there's a custom firewall in between, because the controllers initiated the connection outwards, right? I'm on the safe side of my firewall and I'm calling out, right? That's how the internet works. I'm calling out to somebody. The controllers can now work and start communicating with the gateway, which is the hattrix platform. Now, because I called out and I'm using a TCP protocol, what happens is it creates something called the handshake, right? I receive a call. We agree to the terms of this call, which is basically my encryption, because every single call is uniquely encrypted, right? And then the controllers agree to the controller and the gateway agrees to the terms, and now they can start talking to each other to the same path. So the controller starts the connection, but it is a real-time bi-directional communication at this point using the same session. So when you unlock a door from your Enterprise Go, it goes to the cloud to Hattrix, and then Hattrix sends it down to the controller because the controller already spoke to it. There's a small case of very high secure networks where they block an outbound connection. Some customers will block the connection from leaving, right? If I can't call out, how will I reach you? This is where in hattrix you tell the customer you have to give us at least an outbound connection, and then the customer will take care of that. But 99% of the systems out there, offices, warehouses, uh, anything, will actually allow an outbound connection. It's always on the same port, 18802. So the outbound connection always happens on that particular port. Now, I'm in the field, and there's three configuration ways to configure my controller. You have to tell the controller where to call, right? Which Hattrix platform do you want to connect to? Which Enterpass do you want to connect to? We have the very complicated way of using static IP addresses where I have to put jumpers and so on. And we have the KT Finder tool, which works when it works. Or we have a new method for the past 2 years called the website, okay, a UPnP website. Basically, you type something on a web browser and let you know about this controller, the MAC address of this controller, and a configuration page will automatically appear on the browser. Isn't that hard? You type on the KT1 or KT400, the MAC address sticker is there. So then you open up a browser and you type this MAC address on this browser, and automatically the configuration page shows up. No need to put jumpers for static mode. No need to get KT Finder and hope that it works based on the network the customer has. As long as a customer has a DHCP router, basically a standard internet router, whether it's secure or locked or not, if you type in the MAC address, it will be discovered because now the KT1s and the KT400s have a network discovery tool on them. And this is how 90% of the networks out there work. They're all discoverable so everybody can find each other. Otherwise, nobody would speak to anybody. Okay? The first thing we have to do is factory reset the controller. So depending on how you have a controller, you put it in a factory DHCP mode by either pulling the jumpers off the KT400s and pressing reset, or following the steps to reset the KT1 by holding it 3 times and tapping it and holding it. All right. So that's how you reset the KT1. So what you do on any browser, and I'll show you this live, you plug in your controller and you locate the MAC address. Secondly, you open up any browser that works today and you type in the HTTP :// KT and the last 3 sets of the MAC address. Not the entire MAC address, but the last 3 sets. So KT-AB-CD-EF, for example. And this will bring you to the configuration page of your KT controller, whether it's a KT1, whether it's a KT400. So let's go look at that. I'm going to go open up my browser here, and I already have KT-58-A6-84, and it brings me into my KT1 configuration page, right? I don't need to know its IP address. I don't really care what it's at. I didn't have to use the KT Finder because KT Finder doesn't work all the time. It's a great tool, but if it's not used properly, it doesn't work all the time. This one always works. Now, under the Enterpass button here, because Enterpass is part of hattrix, right? We're not going a standalone route where we don't have any software at all. We're going the Enterpass route, which is a hattrix or so. Can you guys all hear me correctly, or just Peter? Is it off? So in here in Enterpass, it is part of hattrix. We click on that, and then we enter our call home address. Our call home address varies per MSP. Every MSP has their own call home address. My call home address for our demo server is demo.kantech.com. And that's all I have to do. That's literally all I have to do. It's already TCP. I don't have to change it. Now, if you have a very old controller, it is by default UDP. You would have to change it to TCP. But if you're doing a brand new install, TCP is fine. That's what you're going to go with. And you leave it DHCP. Yeah, but Tom, I want to make it static. You could make it static here if you wanted to, but leave it DHCP. Let Enterpass take care. Let hattrix take care of the DHCP and the static. Let it deploy DHCP. Let it connect, which is the hardest part. And then in the hattrix platform, you do whatever you have to do to make it static. Don't forget, Enterpass and hattrix have the final say on how your controller reacts. So you can put static here. If you leave it DHCP in Enterpass or in hattrix, and the hattrix wins. Therefore, the controller will be whatever you chose. So I save it. That wasn't very hard. I clicked on Enterpass and I typed in demo.kantech.com. Then I go to my Enterpass web server that I've already downloaded and connected to, and I connect to my hattrix platform. And I log in with my super secure password. Now, this login that I'm connecting as is my dealer login, because don't forget, in hattrix, you can have multiple accounts and multiple customers. Why need to remember 15 different logins, right? If I have 20 customers, how many logins do I need to maintain my customers' programming? One, because I log in as myself at the dealer level, and then I can go into my account and perform the actions that are available. For example, now that I've logged into the Enterprise web, I notice that Jesse Jetsko, that's my alternate dealer name, has no menus on top. I can't go anywhere. I click on the little sandwich bar up here on the left, and from here, I can now see Jetsko Dealer, that's me, and I can see all the accounts that I have. These are three different customers, three different accounts that I can work with. Tom's Pants, which makes pants, Tom's Shoes, and Apco Shoes. So these are my three particular customers. When I double click on one of them, it asks me if I want to switch an account, and if not, you could always say don't ask me again. And now it switched me inside the account of my customer. So now I can see his card holders, right? I can see his outdoors. I can perceive various actions from the Enterprise web that belong exclusively to Tom Shoes. If I want to add Tom Tenson, for example, to Tom Pants, then it's a different account. I have to get out by double clicking on this one, and that will switch me into the appropriate account. So when I click on any account, I could collapse the sandwich bar and not see these little icons again. So why would I want to see a list of all my accounts every single time? From here, I can perform various actions like as if I was in that account, right? Don't forget, in hattrix, an account is the customer, it's the company, it's not the hardware. So, for example, if I have 20 buildings, 20 stores, for example, I would have 20 sites, but only one account because the account belongs to the company itself. So, the first thing I go do is I go to hardware setup. And notice carefully that I have my site on my left. I have Tom Shoes Montreal. And notice that everything on this controller is fine. It's been programmed, and I get to see everything in a grid view. So quickly, I get to see how many controllers I have, how many connections, and how many doors and relays and inputs in accordance I have. And it's showing me that my controller is green. Green means good. I'm communicating with my controller. Whereas this connection here will be red on the other side because it's missing the connection that I have here. To add a new connection, it's very simple. To add a new site, we hit the add button and we give it a meaningful name. This would be Tom Paris site. Now we're becoming international here. And we fill up the appropriate information to best describe the site. Purely aesthetics for you guys. We press save. Now I can add a connection. And when I add my connection, I name this connection. Notice everything that I actually need is on the first page. I don't have to click on anything other than choosing which controller I need. But everything else is at one particular location. I'm going to call this Tom Paris IP connection 1. And then I specify the zip code that I have. It's very important to put the zip code or a postal code in here. It's a required field. You just pick the one you want. And then I specify the appropriate time zone that it's at, which is this one. Okay, let's say. And then I choose what kind of controller I have. Do I have a KT1 or KT400? Really up to you. I'm going to choose a KT400 for now. And then I enter the MAC address of my device. If I want to give it a static IP address, I can issue it a static IP address if I ever wanted to. At this point, whatever I put here will be the final say. But if I leave it DHCP, it will stay as DHCP. I press save. Now the controller itself will be now saved. So now I have my connection saved, but I don't have a controller. And if I hit the add button, now it's asking me to name my controller. So I'm going to call this Tom Paris IP1 controller 1. And I choose the serial. I type in the serial number that I need to put. Now, because it is a KT400, I just type it in like I see it, right? Like on a KT400, KT1. And then I choose what kind of reader do I have. Do I have IO Smart over RS-45 or I don't? If you don't, you could add them later if you're not sure, or just see them here. When I press next, what I like the most about the next page is that it actually gives you a wizard that will guide you through the programming. I missed it. There you go. Of the controllers. It will guide you so how to name your doors, to put a door contact and Rex, and if you had a serial number, to enter the serial number of the reader, and then choose between fail secure and fail safe. And you can repeat these for all 4 doors. So all the 4 doors are programmed there. And again, name, door contact and Rex, IO smart serial number, and fail secure and fail safe. Notice that if I don't have a door contact or Rex, the actual icons disappear accordingly. But we should all be putting door contacts and Rexes, yes? Now the benefit of all this is that once I've programmed my 4 doors, there's literally nothing else to do. Everything is programmed inside my Enchpass web. I wait a few seconds when I press finish to review everything, making sure everything is correct. I press finish, and now my controller has been programmed. Now I have my controller programmed if I ever wanted to, using a very quick way of analyzing everything in a kind of a wizard setup, right? From left to right, you get to see everything. If I double click on a door, for example, this is a different controller here, I could change the programming of the controller however I want. I can add various little settings to my door now, change the unlock schedule. So in the wizard, I get all the basic stuff, and then in the controller itself, I get all the programming extras that somebody can need. When I go to operations, notice that my controller is still there. My controller is there. Actually, wrong place. Paris, yeah, Montreal, whatever. And I can click on the controller, right click, and unlock the door if I ever wanted to. Okay. And under my events, you'll see many different events that are available from the Anthropass hattrix platform here. Back in my hardware setup, some other cool things that you guys want to consider is under the controller. If I hit edit, I can now in here, 1 second, adjust my controller settings such as end of line resistor, keypad, and so on. And it will give you the serial number of all your readers. If you have more iOS smart readers, you could simply add them if you ever wanted to. Now notice carefully also here that it tells you the firmware of the controller. The cool part of showing you the firmware of the controller is that if you have an older controller, you can upgrade this firmware remotely. It will push it down to the controller. It will take about 5 to 10 minutes, but during this time the controller keeps on working. But the benefit here is you can push down firmware to all your controllers if you ever need. Under devices and controller, for example, here, you can check the box. I don't have a box as mine are up to date, but if you check the box here, it will tell you that you can upgrade if you had an older version. Very practical to do so, to be up to date and current on your hardware programming. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Kantech webinar series on how to deploy a controller. Again, the easiest part is using the UPnP interface, which is the network discovery tool, to find the controllers. All right.